Hey, I'm Dustin Stevens with Desert Tech, and today we're going to go over some tips and tricks to install your Ruger 1022 into the TREK-22 stock. Alright, first I'm going to remove the action from the Ruger stock. I'm going to break this loose up front and then undo the action screw on the bottom. I'm going to move my safety to roughly the middle and pop it out. Alright, at this point I'm going to make sure both of my trigger pins are in. Trick number one is I'm going to put a piece of tape over those pins. Make sure they stay in. Okay, now that you've removed your barreled action from the stock, you can remove your two receiver pins and store them in the Trek stock in this groove. We will be using those holes for 2 screws during our install. Alright, this brings us to tip number 2. That is the trigger spring in the Trek stock. If your trigger bar comes off, you need to make sure that you reinstall this spring in its proper orientation. Alright, as you drop your barreled action into the stock, watch that trigger spring to make sure that it does not pop out of position. Okay, once the barreled action is in, do not forget to install your QD sling cup. If you forget that, you'll have to disassemble the whole stock to put it back in afterwards. As you're putting this together, make sure you pay special attention to the TREK-22 installation instructions for proper screw location and torque specifications. As you torque the screws down, pay special attention to the torque specs to avoid any warping or damage to the TREK-22 stock. Ensure your barreled action is centered in the stock before torquing down the action screw. Alright, that was some tips and tricks for installing your TREK-22 stock. Hopefully it was helpful. If you guys have any tips and tricks that you know yourselves, please comment below, and we'll see you next time.